Hiya folks, today we're talking about the entire Halloween franchise, and to celebrate, I bought a terrifying mask of my own.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The new Halloween movie is coming to theaters October 19th, and whether or not you're an avid fan of the franchise, if it piques your interest...
You might be wondering where it takes place in the timeline, because, you know, the last Halloween movie was Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This doesn't look like a sequel to that, because Jamie Lee Curtis is back, and she is a kid again, but not either of the kids she had in the past movies, so... What? I'm not going to do that the whole video. If knowing exactly what the new Halloween movie is a sequel to is your primary and only concern in watching this video, then I'll just get that out of the way. I'll save you some time. It is a direct sequel to only John Carpenter's Halloween, the original 1978 film. It probably carries some aspects of Halloween 2 over, like the concept that Laurie Strode is Michael Myers' brother, but it even retcons that in the trailer.
It was not her brother. That's something that people made up.
By saying it was only a rumor. So mostly it is only a sequel to the first one. If you still want more video, here it is. I'm gonna start from the top, summarizing each movie and then spelling out all of the 5-ish timelines that we have going on in this franchise, give some possible watch orders to the films, and then talk about some of the ways I feel about this franchise. There will be plot spoilers for all of these movies except the new one, which isn't out yet, but I wouldn't worry about that because almost all of these movies are pretty not plot driven. So first we have John Carpenter's Halloween, which came out in 1978 and basically invented the slasher franchise as we know it. It was the first to follow the formula of guy in an instantly recognizable mask with a single distinct weapon that he'll use the whole franchise, obsessing over one female per film, killing all of her friends, and trying to kill her but not always succeeding. I'm not going to lie to you about how I feel about this movie. True fans of the Halloween franchise often say this is the best one, with many fans saying it is the only one worth watching.
Plus, Halloween 2 was pretty good.
These people would certainly think of me as not a true fan. I only discovered Halloween about a year ago and watched every one of the films in about 2 weeks. Before that, I had seen all of Freddy and Jason's movies, and they both came later and added to the formula that Halloween invented, in a way that made them more interesting than Halloween to me. But I'm still a huge slasher fan, and I gotta respect the first one for inventing it. And in this first one, we meet Michael as a child. Scene 1, he kills his sister. Then we see his blank stare, and it's a little confused, a little sad. Is this evil? Well, if he wasn't evil then, after 15 years in prison, he is now. He escapes during a prison transfer and steals the car, and returns to his hometown of Haddonfield. Finally, a killer who uses the deadliest weapon of all. A car. He sees a young girl named Laurie Strode, and just, decides that she's the one. He's obsessed. His psychologist, Dr. Loomis, rushes to Haddonfield and warns the police that this guy is definitely going to kill people. Bearing in mind that this guy hasn't done anything since he was 7, except interact with Dr. Loomis. So if you feel like Dr. Loomis is partially to blame for who Michael became, then I agree with you, and honestly, it's one of the most intriguing aspects of the entire franchise, though it's never explicitly stated whether or not the text actually does view it as partially his fault, until the Rob Zombie movies. It's something there that you can read into, and that I do read into. Loomis is terrified of his patient, but also knows,
And again, I'm reading into this a little,
that he failed his patient. That's explored more in the later movies. Anyway, just as predicted by Loomis, Michael begins killing all the people around Laurie. It's important to note that in this movie, he's just obsessed with the pretty girl. We don't find out she's his sister until Halloween 2. John Carpenter's Halloween is all about exploring what evil is. And it basically concludes that evil is a terrible thing that is difficult to understand, but 15 years in isolation and in prison definitely doesn't help. It climaxes with us seeing Michael's face, and he's still a little scared, a little confused, and eerily normal looking. And that is the most we'll see of his face in the entire franchise.
not counting Rob Zombie.
Then Loomis shoots him 6 times, accepting that he truly failed Michael, but refusing to fail Laurie. Michael falls from the window, then Laurie just gets to be traumatized, and the camera looks to the spot where Michael fell from the window, and he's nowhere to be found. I give John Carpenter's Halloween a 4 out of 5. It is a little dated, a little boring by today's standards, but it's a classic and the very first. Which brings us to Halloween 2.
I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. This man, he's not human.
Universal Pictures presents Halloween 2.
John Carpenter has sometimes said that he didn't think a sequel should have been made, and that he only meant there to be one Halloween movie. Well, he wrote and produced the second one. The film picks up right where the first one left off, and all takes place the same night. Loomis is still running around telling the cops they need to take this more seriously. He gets one cop so freaked out that when he sees a man in Michael's mask walking down the street, this happens. It is the wildest explosion I have ever seen, and it's actually a plot point that it's so hot it melts this guy's mask off, so they have no chance of identifying whether it was actually Michael in the mask. Spoiler alert! It wasn't Michael. I was giving you time to click away if you really cared about spoilers at this point. When this guy, the cop that was driving, finds out that it wasn't Michael, he's a little perturbed for like a minute that he melted another human being, and they still let him finish out his cop shift for the rest of the night. The rest of the film takes place in the worst run and most dimly lit hospital of all time, where doctors and nurses are constantly playing doctor with one another. And Laurie is one of like 2 patients on Halloween night, the busiest party night of the year. And on a Halloween night, whence a killer has been hunting people. Empty hospital. Anyway, in this film we find out that Michael wasn't just randomly obsessed with Laurie because she was pretty, it's because she's actually his sister. She was a baby in the Myers house when he killed his older sister, and then she was adopted by the Strodes. But he's figured it all out, and now he wants to finish the job. Even though Loomis appears in 3 more movies, this is actually the only one that completes an arc for him. Throughout the film, he's driven even crazier by his mission to stop Michael, and he even begins to mirror Michael's own insanity a little bit by the end. He finally accepts, again, that Michael is his responsibility, and in a heroic self-sacrifice, he blows himself and Michael up. This movie has a lot of blowing ups. Laurie is safe, credits roll. I give Halloween 2 a 2 out of 5, because it's also a little dated, a little slow and boring, and it's not the first. This marks the first of many definitive ending of the franchise, with all loops and arcs closed and proper catharsis at the end. Laurie is safe and traumatized. Loomis and Michael are both dead, and don't worry, in 2 movies we find out they both just got a little burned.
It's time, Michael.
Which means Loomis's plan was crap, and that's what you'll soon find out this franchise is all about. Pissing on all the previous movies.
Halloween 3! Season of the Witch!
At this point, Carpenter decided he wanted the Halloween franchise to be an anthology, so he let Tommy Lee Wallace write and direct an entirely new story for Halloween 3. It is not in the same universe as the first 2, and in fact we see the first film playing in the background of one scene, establishing that it's just a movie in this world too. Season of the Witch might be my favorite of the entire franchise, as it is an absolute triumph of garbage and ridiculous filmmaking. It is so insane and absurd, and I am not actually going to talk about it in this video because it doesn't pertain to the rest of the franchise or Michael Myers at all. It holds no weight on any other movies in the franchise, and I'd actually like to do a whole video on it by itself because it's incredible. It's like The Room. It's just so fascinatingly horrible. It gets like a -3 out of 5 stars. And any movie that low is something you gotta watch, which makes it a lot better than a lot of the other movies in this franchise, which are just horrible. So that's as far as I'm covering in this first video. A lot of these are really terrible movies, and I don't recommend them to anyone who doesn't already love the genre, except Halloween 1. I would only recommend Halloween 1 because it's actually pretty good. It's a classic, and Halloween 3 because it's a classic in my heart for entirely different reasons, because it's so damn awful. Hey guys, it's me, Editing Daniel. Just wanted to come in and clarify that this is probably going to be 3 videos delivered over the next 3 weeks. So stay tuned for that. The next video is going to go over 4, 5, and 6, and then after that we're going to do Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection, and the Rob Zombie movies in the 3rd and final video, and then we're going to do one for Halloween 2018. So keep tuning in for more Halloween. You're the best. Love you. So violently stab that subscribe button, blow the heck out of that like button, and comment or whatever. But seriously, thank you for watching. And as always, remember, I think this is my catchphrase now.